Good evening and welcome to Brooklyn Borough Hall. There is one item on the agenda this evening. Please note that this hearing is being recorded to comply with the public law for transparency. It will be available for viewing on Borough Hall's Borough President Adams' website, brooklyn-usa.org, or on the One Brooklyn channel on YouTube. Web viewers may submit timely comments to askeric@brooklynbp.nyc.gov for Borough President Adams' consideration. Please call the item and let us begin.
Calendar item number 1, 160243 PSK and 120120 MMK.
These applications submitted by the Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Small Business Services, and the Department of Citywide Administrative Services for the site selection of a portion of the street located between the Whale Creek Canal and Kingsland Avenue in Greenpoint, Community District 1, for use as a nature walk. Actions include the elimination, discontinuance, and closing of a portion of the street, the establishment of a cul-de-sac where Kingsland Avenue would terminate, the narrowing of mapped Whale Creek Canal, and adjustment of street map and grade dimensions. Such actions will allow the expansion and completion of the Newtown Creek Nature Walk. Community Board 1 approved this application on September 14, 2016 with conditions regarding the provision of lighting fixtures and trash receptacles, that the agencies maintain open communication with the businesses by Kingsland Avenue, and that attention is focused on safety measure for cyclists and pedestrians. It is my expectation that through working in partnership with the IBZ service provider at Evergreen, Leah Archibald, the director, there will be better communications and continuance of what is good practices, working with the businesses within the IBZ, where this particular open space and nature walk will be certainly at the center of the businesses surrounding it. Would the representatives for this application, Alicia West, please state your name for the record and present the application at the podium.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. My name is Alicia West, and I'm the Director of Public Design Outreach for the Department of Environmental Protection's Bureau of Public Affairs and Communications. We are so pleased to be here to present a joint application by DEP, Small Business Services, and the Department of Citywide Administrative Services to demap marginal Kingsland Avenue and the site selection of a portion of it to construct phase 3 of the Waterfront Nature Walk. The project site is north of our Newtown Creek Water Pollution Control Plant in Greenpoint within Community District 1. The Newtown Creek Water Pollution Control Plant is the largest of the city's 14 treatment plants, occupying approximately 53 acres of land. The plant and the surrounding area is zoned M3-1 for heavy industrial uses, including the Department of Sanitation's Marine Transfer Station and a private metal recycling business. The area to the west of the project site between Provost and McGinnis Boulevard is zoned M11 and is developed with light industrial and commercial uses. This area is served by 4 bus lines and the G train. In 1996, the city launched an expansion plan for the Newtown Creek Water Pollution Control Plant to meet the needs of our growing population and updated regulatory mandates. As a part of that expansion, through a Department of Cultural Affairs Percent for Art Commission, DEP established the Waterfront Nature Walk to provide public access along the edge of Newtown Creek. The selected environmental artist, George Tracus, worked with landscape architects Quinnell Rothschild and Partners to design the Waterfront Nature Walk in 3 phases. In early 2000, DEP undertook the construction of phase 1, which begins at Page Avenue and runs along the edge of the Newtown Creek to Whale Creek, and that's shown here in green. The landscape path is 515 feet long, and it features seating areas, waterfront access, and diverse plantings native to the Newtown Creek area. Phase 1 was completed in 2007 and is open to the public. Phase 2 is an overwater extension connecting the completed Phase 1 section to the proposed Phase 3 section. It will consist of 3 60-foot-long bow-shaped vessel forms made of galvanized steel with connecting ramps and bridges and a central turret seating area. Phase 2 will be protected from small vessels accessing the creek by fender piles, which you can see here with the red caps. Phase 3, which is the subject of this application, will be built in the demapped street. Phase 3 is envisioned as a garden space with seating, shade, and educational features. Excuse me. Phase 3 will also establish a street grid connection to the east side of the site, so visitors can enjoy the full nature walk without doubling back. The main entrance will be on Kingsland Avenue. This area will be landscaped with street trees and include benches and bicycle racks. A large boulder will mark the entrance to Phase 3, mirroring the one that marks the entrance at Phase 1 on Page Avenue. A central granite swale will run through the middle of the garden, forming a spine lined by lush planting and seating opportunities. A central circular shelter with a conical metal roof will provide additional shaded seating. West of the shelter, in a grove of ginkgo trees, there are 5 boulder-sized tree fossils that DEP excavated at our upstate Schoharie Reservoir. We'll include informational signs that describe the history of these 380-million-year-old fossils.
In here, that part, but not on the avenue, not at the entrance.
At the western edge of Phase 3, the granite swale will drain into a planted rain garden with a small pedestrian bridge extending over it. And at the water's edge, another shelter in the form of a boat shell will provide additional shade over a large picnic table. Here, there's also a stepped area to allow visitors to get closer to the water while they're still protected by a 42-inch high railing that will match the railings installed elsewhere in Phase 1. So in order to facilitate the construction of Phase 3, we are requesting an amendment to the city map to eliminate, discontinue, and close the 100-foot wide marginal Kingsland Avenue between Whale Creek and marginal North Henry Street, and that's shown here with the red dotted line. At City Planning's request, the mapping action will also establish a turnaround in the extension of the public Kingsland Avenue within a portion of marginal North Henry Street, and that's shown in blue between the 2 red areas. This will allow for FDNY turnaround. The map change will also reflect a 1996 mapping action previously approved by the City Planning Commission to reduce the width of the Whale Creek Canal by 30 feet on its western side, and that's shown in yellow in the dotted line. In a related action, we are requesting the site selection of a 70-foot wide portion of the DMAP street to construct Phase 3 of our nature walk. The 70-foot wide portion slated for Phase 3 abuts our treatment plant and would become part of Block 2525, which is under DEP's jurisdiction. Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead there. The remaining 30-foot wide section to the north will be under the jurisdiction of Department of Sanitation and would provide access to sanitation's warehouse to the north of the project site. Using a 2011 MOU, sanitation will give DEP access through this same 30-foot wide section so that we can reach our floatable controls facility, which is on the east side of Whale Creek. The Nature Walk is a critical public waterfront amenity for Greenpoint and an educational resource about Newtown Creek and its evolution over time. The project has been approved by the Public Design Commission and will be honored this fall with an award for excellence in design, which we're very excited about. The New York State DEC, Army Corps of Engineers, and the U.S. Coast Guard have also approved the plan. We greatly appreciate your support as the final phase moves through ULURP. With your help, we hope to begin construction next summer.
Thank you so much, Alicia. This is very personal to me. I started working in politics as a young woman 20 years ago, and this was one of the first meetings and projects that I apparently would attend, representing the member I worked for, and this is amazing to see the last phase of this 20-year construction. I wanted to just make sure that we went through just a few items that we observed, and with the help of the community board, who has expressed the same interests. Lighting, I don't want to take it for granted that we expect to have lighting. We didn't see lighting. Is there going to be lighting?
Yes, we absolutely have lighting, and I have a few slides just illustrating that. So we have all sorts of lighting. We have light poles. We also have lights integrated into
Very
our
coastal.
perimeter fence. These are images of what was installed in phase one. We will match those. And we also have, this thing doesn't like me. There we go. We also have in phase two, on that sort of bridged over the walk over the water, we have these sort of more cylindrical poles that have lights on the top. We also have in-ground lighting, and then we have a number of surfaces that have linear fixtures that run along them, so they sort of serve as ambient lighting, but also a nice accent lighting.
And none of this lighting disrupts what would be the tuggers moving along the Newtown Creek?
No, absolutely not. This works in perfect consort with our activities on Whale Creek.
And as far as the Nature Walk's hours of operation, can you just clarify exactly what security measures as far as opening and closing of the Nature Walk?
Sure, so the Nature Walk is open dusk to dawn, weather permitting.
So it follows all Parks Department rules and regulations?
I think it's modeled after after that, certainly. You know, we want to provide access when it's nice to be there.
Right. And provided the site plan does not indicate whether phase 3 section of the Nature Walk includes any trash receptacles, will it?
We do have trash receptacles. They look like this. This is, they're actually designed to look like barrels,
Right.
which is a reference to the history of the cooperage trade along Newtown Creek.
Right.
So this is installed in phase 1, and we'll be putting these in as part of
Fantastic.
this project too.
And as far as the procurement of supplies and, let's say, the lighting fixtures, for example, is there local procurement for local businesses?
So we follow standard procurement laws. DDC is actually managing this contract on DEP's behalf. We do have some goals set for MWBE involvement. I believe that we have a goal of 18% participation for steel, carpentry, finishes, and electrical.
Why 18 and not 20, the local law 1?
Is it 20? Is the local law 20 now? I think for our larger projects, we typically specify 22 because there's a larger array of opportunity and materials involved. For this one, DDC has stipulated 18, but I'm certainly happy to go back and check that with them.
Please do so, and
Absolutely.
if you could just get back to me, I just want to verify that it's 20%, that's the minimum requirement.
I will check into that.
And then, as the entrance of phase 1 of the Nature Walk includes an emergency public assistance call box, given the equally isolated nature of phase 3, would that entrance also be provided a call box as a means to enhance public safety?
So the call box was installed in phase 1 because phase 1 dead-ended.
Right.
With the street grid connection that phase 3 will establish, we're going to resolve that condition, and so we don't feel we need an additional one. However, the one that is there will remain.
And so it's not to say that you've closed the door on what would be any additional, but you believe that this is sufficient for now?
We do, yeah.
And if in the future there is a need for a call box based on circumstances you may receive from the public as feedback, then one can be proposed. You're not prohibited.
Certainly, nothing in the design would preclude it.
Right. Given that the city has been taking steps to divert stormwater runoff from its water pollution control plants, why does the site plan and rendering indicate such an extensive paved area at the entrance plaza phase 3 as opposed to incorporating features such as bioswales as part of planted areas? At the entrance specifically?
At the entrance on Kingsland Avenue, we do have some street trees there. We were constrained by some Department of City Planning circulation requirements and clearance requirements. So we were a little bit limited in the amount of softscape we could provide there.
Could I just dig a little deeper? Was there conversations with the businesses to understand whether or not there would be disruption?
As related to the stormwater or just related to the project?
In relation to what city planning
The
felt
clearances?
clearance was necessary, but sometimes clearance on paper is not clearance in real time.
I think my understanding is that it relates to fire department access, but I can certainly get a little bit more information about that for you.
I would most appreciate it. I just wanted to understand what is clearance, and does clearance include the businesses, right? There's tractor trailers that are constantly moving up and down. What would be in the area of the IBZ, especially that particular section where it's isolated to industry? And this should all be complementary to what would be the IBZ, not a hindrance to the IBZ.
So we've already begun discussions with Evergreen, and they've been really helpful in helping us understand some of their goals for Kingsland Avenue. And so we've begun conversations with them, and also we've connected them to our colleagues over at DOT, both in the bike group and also in the Borough Commissioner's office.
Fantastic. And as far as the hiring process opportunities for this particular construction contract, will there be any hiring percentages or programs like Hire NYC that will be applicable to this construction site?
I know we're bound by procurement laws, but let me check in with DDC about that particular program.
I would appreciate it. We're trying to coordinate and integrate agency programs that are complementary to one another, and economic development cannot be isolated. And so
Absolutely.
we want to make sure that there's a marriage between a lot of these layered access services that then trickles down and up for the community. And so I'm truly excited about this project and just can't wait to see the final outcomes at all levels, right? Social, environmental,
Absolutely.
you name it. But we are happy to have worked with you. I know that the topography unit worked on this as well in our building, and I want to thank our land use director, Richard Bayrak, and his associate Olga for the work just establishing, making sure that we were reviewing all the details. But thank you, Alicia, and to the team at DEP.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
I still have this if you want to ask it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot one more question. Bike lanes along Greenpoint Avenue, Provost Street leading up to the entrance of Phase 1. What consideration has been given to linking the entrance of Phase 3 to the bike route network by having a bike lane along Kingsland Avenue?
Right, so as you mentioned, there are bike lanes on Greenpoint and Page, Page leading directly to the entrance to the Phase 1 portion. We are providing bike racks at our Kingsland Avenue entrance, and this is absolutely one of the things that I spoke to Evergreen about last week, about their interest in having bike lanes here as a connection off of Greenpoint and ensuring that everyone, whether you're on bike or on foot, has safe access to the nature walk. So again, we've connected them, and we're going to organize something with our colleagues at DOT to make sure that everybody's on the same page here to get that moving.
Was there positive feedback from the businesses communicated to Evergreen concerning bike lanes?
That seems to be something that they're very interested in.
Okay.
They also expressed interest in some green infrastructure along
Right.
Kingsland Avenue, along the right-of-way there that's
Right.
DOT property.
Right.
So we have to get our friends involved there since we don't control that property.
So if we can have a follow-up conversation about that, we would engage DOT, and we would be happy to just facilitate more
That would
further
be-
discussions.
That would be great.
And just to understand, after the third phase, this completes what would be the nature walk. What is the final cost of
All told?
all three?
So I believe it is a total. These two, Phase 2 and Phase 3, are a combined 17 million estimated, and I believe with phase one, all told, it's a $20 million dollar investment by DEP.
And as far as the quality, is there going to be any air quality monitors to understand whether or not this is going to be assisting what would be improving air quality in the area?
I don't know the answer to that question. I can certainly go back and ask, but given the amount of green that we're putting in here, and including very, very successful urban trees like ginkgo trees, we have a very nice ginkgo grove that we're proposing, you know, that should do wonders.
Right. And I ask because we should be monitoring, right? If this has what would be a improvement in air quality that improves what would be the neighborhood as a whole, right? And if we could continue the efforts, and what do we need to put in place to assess where we could have other nature walks developed? Because I know I've spoken to some businesses along Newtown Creek who would love the opportunity to continue that nature walk. I know Waste Management has done their own private investment along the creek where their property ends to be able to have outdoor space for their employees to gather, to eat. So this is something that is not very well spoken about or requested upon businesses. They just don't know who to go to and how to navigate. But if we can assist DEP explore the possibilities of continuing the nature walk, what would that look like and what would be that cost? And can we break it into phases to continue the efforts that you've successfully implemented?
It's a wonderful idea. There are a lot of different property owners that run along the creek, both private and also public. A lot of street ends just terminate at the creek, so that's DOT property. So it's certainly something that would involve a multi-agency approach. But it's
So if you could keep that in mind
Yeah.
and take back, what would be that message? I know that we want to make sure that we have an environmentally sound Brooklyn, and so from Newtown Creek to Gowanus Canal. Thank you so much, Alicia.
Thank you.
So we have no speaker, so we can close it.
Yes. No speaker? Okay. The hearing on these items is now closed. Should there be no one in this room who needs to testify, I would like to just thank once again Olga and Richard, the Land Use Department at Brooklyn Borough Hall, participating in this public hearing. To everyone who is present, and Borough President Adams will review the applications we heard today and will soon submit his recommendation to the City Planning Commission. Borough President Adams would like to take this opportunity to remind you that the City Planning Commission will hold a hearing on this item as well. The hearing is now adjourned. Borough President Adams would like to remind those viewing on the website that timely comments can be submitted by email to askeric@brooklynbp.nyc.gov. Thank you and good night.
You got 2 minutes to spare.
Wow, that is amazing time.